And now to begin this day, we begin with a very special LeaderSpeak at Hope, a segment that brings us closer to the minds shaping global hospitality. This session, ladies and gentlemen, features one of the most respected leaders in the international hospitality landscape. Joining us through a specially recorded conversation is Chief Executive Officer of IAG Hotels and Resorts, Elie Maalouf, in conversation with President and CEO South Asia HVS ANAROCK, Mandeep Lamba, a dialogue that promises global perspective, strategic clarity, and insight into the evolving dynamics of hospitality worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the screens, please.
I am privileged to be today with Elie Maalouf, Global CEO of IAG Hotels and Resorts, and one of the most distinguished leaders from our sector. I last recorded a conversation with Elie exactly 2 years back for Hope 2024 at the IAG Global Headquarters in Windsor in London, and I'm delighted to be reconnected with Elie, and even more so back home in India. IAG Hotels and Resorts, as most of you would know, is amongst the largest hotel companies in the world, with 6,700 hotels and counting, over 1 million rooms, and operating in more than 100 countries, giving Elie the global vantage position as we discuss today hospitality trends, unstoppable India, and leadership in a rapidly changing world. Welcome back, Elie. And thank you so much for finding the time to do this chat session with me in your very hectic India schedule.
Well, thank you, Mandeep. It's great to be back with you, and it's great to be here in Delhi in India once again.
How's India treating you? How's the weather and the general pollution been kind to you, or not so much?
Look, we deal with a lot of different circumstances. Actually, the weather is nice, fresh, and cool. It's a hazy time of year because of the burning of the farms, and we know about that. We cope with it. We cope with a lot of different things, but the opportunity ahead of us here in India always keeps us excited.
Great, Elie, so let's roll on.
Exactly.
Let's start with a bit of a global picture. Demands in most parts of the world are very different. America, Europe, Asia, very different. Tell me one global trend that excites you today, and perhaps one which worries you.
Look, the trend that is really defining our industry, and will continue to define it for quite some time, is the decision by people to prioritize experiences over products. They want more experiences over products. Sure, the trend of travel driven by growth of the middle class, growth of GDP, that continues, but it's being supercharged by people's preference for experiences. Let's not start with travel first. Let's look at other kinds of experiences. Sports experiences. The value of tickets, the people going to sports events, the value of sports teams continues to rise. Although you can see it all virtually, you can watch it at home, people still prefer to go. Restaurants, bars, movie theaters, shows, everything that's live, religious sites. You can see and do all this virtually, but you prefer to do it in person. Live experiences are what people prefer, and we're actually in the business of live experiences. And that is a defining trend that is supercharging the travel industry and the hospitality industry beyond just the growth of GDP and the growth of the middle class.
You're so right, actually. The more the world gets digital, and we speak a lot about virtual stuff, the more I think there is a need for people to physically connect and be there and experience this in the post-COVID world. Now, if I was to talk of one from your vantage position, one of the trends that you're seeing in global travel today, which probably didn't exist 10 years ago, what would that be, in your opinion?
Well, there's no question that artificial intelligence, that AI, is transforming not just travel, but transforming a lot of industries. On the one hand, two things will never change, which we just talked about earlier. there's always going to be a person, man or woman, that wants to travel for business or for pleasure. And on the other end, there will be a live experience for them to reach. That hotel, that restaurant, that bar, that guest room, that lobby, that spa, that swimming pool, that beach, that live experience will always be there. Now, what's in between is changing. How you get there, how you book, how you find it, how you share it, that's changing. So two things will never change: your desire to travel and the live destination you're going to. But the mechanics, the distribution, the technology in between is changing, and artificial intelligence is redefining it. And we're on the leading edge of making sure that our customers, our travelers, have the best artificial intelligence tools to find that live experience. And that live experience remains a human live experience, but is improved by technology and artificial intelligence.
And thankfully, the one thing that isn't changing very soon, and I think everybody seems to have a consensus on that, is the need for people to travel. And I think that's something that's going to be keeping our industry sustainable and growing rapidly in times to come. But let's move a little to your own growth. And I've read a few of your statements in the past where you've looked at the East as being an area which is seeing rapid growth, Asia very much. Let's try and put India into this picture. How do you look at India, let's say in the next 5-7 years? And is there a structural problem for large hotel companies to operate in India? What could be better?
Sure. Well, first, we're always going to be, as a global hospitality company, always going to be very big in the Americas, very big in Europe. But the reality is that the percentage growth, the rates of growth, have moved east, from the Middle East to Southeast Asia, to Central Asia, to the Far East. That is a long-term structural trend. The populations are younger. Average age in India is 26, 27. It's 40 in Europe and in the US, right? So GDP is growing faster, 6, 7, 8% in India, 1, 2, 3% in the West. The population's younger, it's growing faster. Infrastructure investment is higher, aircraft orders are higher. All these things drive faster rates of travel growth. So we're not shifting our priorities from the West to the East, but we are focusing a lot on these because that's where the highest rates of growth are. And that's very exciting. So where does India fit in this thing? If we look at this eastern basin from the Middle East all the way to Japan, including China, if you're talking about 3.5 billion people, well, India is almost half of that, right? And it's not really a nation, it's a continent of about 20 different nations and cultures and languages, and even more than that. So it has huge potential on one hand. You have the fastest growing middle class in the world, going to add 300 to 400 million people to the middle class in the next 15 or 20 years. It has the fastest GDP growth in the East, actually in the world of the large nations, at somewhere between 6 and 8%. It has the fastest infrastructure investment, the biggest aircraft orders in the world. Those alone are defining and powering the growth of travel. And by the way, it has a very low supply, very low penetration of room rates per capita. So you have huge demand growing, very low supply. So there's a need for IHG and its partners to bring that supply and bring those experiences. It's made huge progress. We talk about structural issues, huge progress in infrastructure, in regulation. I mean, I've been coming to India for over 15 years, even for my prior business.
Right.
I was coming to India before the first new modern airports opened in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, and Mumbai. I came to the old airports. I was part of the projects that brought the new airports along. So I've been seeing this transformation for over 15 years, and it's been tremendous. There's still more work to do on regulation, on intercity infrastructure. I mean, the intercity highways are really world-class. Intercity, we know it from our commutes, are still difficult. As we see in the air, there's some work still to do on climate, on environment. There's still work to do on ease of travel. But if India can continue the trajectory of improvement and ease that it's made over the last 15 years, 10 years, the future is great.
Absolutely. And I think there is a fair amount of work in that direction that's happening. But let's come to India. If I was to give you a clean map of India, and I said, Elie, what are the 3 big opportunities for IHG in India, whether it's from your segment or geography? Where do you think your pen will land?
Land that pen not so much geographically, than by sector. So you have the business sector, right? That's one big territory for us. India's business sector is growing rapidly. GDP of almost 4 trillion right now, aiming to be 7.5 trillion by 2030, almost doubling, fastest growth. So the business community is going to grow. Office demand is high, therefore people are traveling for business. India alone exports more technology services than Switzerland exports pharmaceutical, than the US exports vehicles. And so it has a growing export market, and that's defining a business community that we need to address from a territory point of view. So I'd say the business community, focused in the top 5 to 7 cities, is our first territory of focus. The second one is inbound leisure is growing rapidly. One, from the Indian nationals are coming back, tourists that are coming in, great opportunity there, vastly underserved in terms of high-quality branded hotels, vastly underserved. So we have huge opportunity there. We're addressing that with new intercontinental hotels in Bangalore, in Jaipur for tourism. We're addressing it with Holiday Inns and Holiday Inn Expresses, with a very strong pipeline for Crown Plazas around these locations. And I'd say the third one, which distinguishes India, is religious travel.
Correct.
Not just tourism for sightseeing, but religious travel. Over 100 million religious travelers a year. Only, let's say, Saudi Arabia has a similar religious travel concentration and perpetual strength. That is very inelastic. Up days and down days, that continues, and is also vastly underserved. There are some beautiful religious sites in India that have no quality hotels, no 4 or 5, not even 3-class hotels to serve them, and we're addressing that too.
Fabulous. So one of the defining trends in India, Elie, has been now the sort of upsurge in tier 2, tier 3 cities, and the growth in these cities, the demands in these cities as India sort of GDP increases and the rise of the middle class, etc. One of the things that we are witnessing in India is hotel companies acquiring or finding ways inorganically to add to their distribution by, taking on smaller other acquisitions, which specifically helps you grow in tier 2, tier 3 cities, because most of the larger companies have largely focused in the tier 1 cities in the initial part of their journey. Would you consider something like that for IHG going forward?
Look, we're not strangers to partnerships and to acquisitions. In my 11 years now at IHG, we've done 4 acquisitions, most recently the Ruby brand acquisition, which will be in the East, which will be coming to the East, which will be coming to India at some point. That's the 4th one. We've done multiple partnerships. But I'd also say, I don't think we need that. If we find the right partnership and acquisition, we'll certainly be looking at those to grow. But I think the organic growth vector for us, organic growth opportunity, is much, much bigger, much, much bigger. Go back to the point earlier of there is a high underpenetration, deep underpenetration of hotel rooms, and actually not that many hotel companies, domestic hotel companies. So even if you wanted to do some acquisition, there aren't really that many, because the industry is not that big compared to the demand. And so I think we have a huge organic growth opportunity. Look, Mandeep, we have 21 brands now in our IHG collection of brands. We actually have only really 4 or 5 playing in India.
Correct.
So we can bring a lot more firepower, a lot more product, many more brands organically. Yes, if there is a partnership, if there is an acquisition, we're certainly eager and open to talk about it, but we have nowhere near reached the potential of our organic growth. We haven't even started.
Right. That's true. Actually, there's a long way to go, considering how large you're in other parts of Asia, 800 hotels plus in China, and a long headway still in India to grow. One of the things that I'd like to ask you, your loyalty program is amongst the largest in the world, and very, very robust. How are you using data to sort of come closer to your customer without sort of losing the human touch or soul in doing so?
Yeah. Look, today we have 145 million IHG One Rewards members around the world and growing. It's a tribe that follows us around the world every night. Every night, 1 million people stay at an IHG hotel. Yes, we have 1 million rooms, but actually we also have about, on average, 1 million people that stay with us every night. 65% of those around the world are actually One Rewards members every night. So it's a tribe that follows us.
Correct.
Over 80, almost 83% of hotel revenue is contribution, enterprise contribution from IHG.
That's significant.
So we have a very powerful enterprise, a tribe that follows us around the world, and yes, we stay very close to them. But going back to the earlier theme that you raised in artificial intelligence, AI is giving us a whole new dimension of getting closer, getting more intimate with its guests in a human way. We're launching next year a new customer relationship management system with Salesforce, a new CRM system that's AI powered to help us get closer to them, understand their needs, anticipate their needs, make their stay more personalized, which has been the holy grail of hospitality. How do we personalize at scale? How do I personalize an experience to 145 million members individually? That's been very difficult. AI is giving us a new way to do it, and next year is really a game changer moment for us.
I'm glad you brought AI, and no conversation today is complete without talking about AI.
Yeah.
And it's no longer a buzzword, it's moved into the boardrooms.
Absolutely.
What do you think will be one concrete AI development which will actually show results on hotel P&Ls?
I'll give you one that's already showing results at IHG, and I'll give you one that will show results next year. And there's more, but just two. First one, we implemented in 2025 already in all of our hotels around the world a new AI-driven revenue management system called N2 pricing. It's now in all our worlds globally. It's first in the industry, industry-leading, machine learning driven, that is constantly taking all the data that you can find in a market, which is from so many different vectors of information, not just what happened last year, not just what the flight schedules are, not just what your competition is pricing at, but everything, the weather, the conferences, the cancellations, the traffic, so much the social sentiment, and helping hotels price at the most appropriate way to get the best yield every night. That already has materially improved the economics of our hotels in a statistically significant way in 2025. Now, in 2026, we're launching a new content manager, which will allow hotels to rapidly change the content, the images, to add video, to add voice, to add 20 language instant translation, to add chat, to add floor plans, to add so many features at a very low cost of change. Today you can do some of that, but you got to go to the agency, you got to send photographers, you got to do a lot of work. By the time you do it, you got to change it again. This will allow you to do it in rapid sequence at a very low cost to have a better user experience on mobile and on website for IHG brands. That will help hotel P&Ls too.
Let's move to you personally, Elie, a bit. Your journey from Lebanon to the US and to the global CEO is simply remarkable. Tell us some early life lessons that may have shaped you as a leader today.
Yeah, well, first, I'm a very fortunate person to have reached this incredible role. I mean, I think I have one of the best jobs in the world. If you're going to be in corporate, right? If you're going to run a business, this has got to be one of the best jobs in the world, and I'm very privileged to be in it. I think that one of the things that defined my experience and that of my, sisters and brother were the fact that we moved around a lot earlier in life. My father was a diplomat with the United Nations. We lived in Lebanon. We lived in North Africa. We moved to Italy, and we were always put in a situation of having to learn a new language, a new culture, go to a different school, make new friends. Nobody ever asked us if we wanted to move like today parents do. There was no question. You just picked up an option. One day, instead of driving to school, you drove to the airport and you were gone. But it built resilience, it built adaptability, it built, I think, a level of confidence that no matter where we go in the world, we can find a way. And so even today, wherever I go in the world, even if I don't speak the language, even if I don't know the culture, I feel like I can find my way.
Absolutely. That's... I've seen that happen to a lot of people who have traveled, moved across geographies and, found that resilience as they grew up. But in a lot of books that I've read or articles and stories about world leaders, there's normally a chapter in their life which is a little difficult chapter, and that may have given you a defining learning because of the difficulty or the hardships. Is there something in your book as well?
Yeah, look, the longer you live, the more you encounter hardships, and you confront them. You either overcome them, or sometimes they overcome you. But you learn something from each one. Just from a professional, and I'd say the personal hardships can always be the hardest ones. But on the professional one, I'd say, I remember graduating from business school and taking a job with a great organization in commercial real estate. Real estate was my first real professional endeavor. And I walked right into one of the biggest real estate recessions in the United States. We had a business that was 700 people. We were 70 people within a matter of months. And I think the only reason they kept me around was I was working hard and didn't cost too much. And I was new. But we all of a sudden had to do so much. The few people left had to do so much. And you learned a lot about what made a good deal good, what made a bad deal bad. We had a lot of bad deals, unfortunately, along with a lot of real estate companies. And those lessons really stayed with me for a very long time.
So tell me, there would be so many anecdotes in your journey, but share with us an anecdote from your professional or family life that would tell the audience or show the audience a side of you that most may not know.
You know, I've spoken in the past about the admiration I had for my father, who started from nothing and ended up getting a PhD from an Ivy League school and really putting us forward with education and with confidence. What I haven't talked about is really actually the role of my mother, who is still alive at 93 years old, that she just had her 93rd birthday in December. And although she spent most of her life raising her 4 children, but actually in the 60s, she was one of the first women to get a job at a bank to support the family, because my father wasn't making enough to support what were then 3 children. And she got a job in the bank as an executive assistant. She was even more ambitious, ended up working in the loan department. And she worked for many years in a bank. This is in the 60s in Lebanon, which was really groundbreaking. And she really has been a role model for us in terms of never really accepting the current circumstances, always believing you can do better, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what the challenges are, always believing you can do better.
That's very inspiring, and I can tell that mothers are special in any case, and I think that is something that you hold true for yourself as well. As we come close to ending the conversation, given the time that we have, we'll do a little quick rapid fire kind of few questions that I'm going to ask you. Let's start with one of your favorite hotels that you like returning to, whether it's IHG or otherwise.
Well, it has to be IHG, of course, right? I mean, seriously, but I don't have a favorite one, Mandeep. I mean, first of all, I haven't seen, a proportion of the 6,800 hotels we have in the world, and I never will. But I'm there. I love them all. I'm always excited about the new one. I'm excited about the new ones coming to India. So I'm always looking forward to the new one.
What's a travel ritual that you never skip?
I really try to exercise every morning.
Every morning. I've heard that from you before.
I think that, if sometimes I absolutely can't, but if I can't, I just don't feel at my best. I try to get enough sleep, not stay up late, and I'll let the team close out the party. I try to get to bed at a reasonable time. Try to get up and exercise every day. Just gives me energy for the rest of the day.
A book, a leader, or a thinker that may have inspired you?
I don't read business books or how-to books or this is how I did it book. I don't have a lot of time to read. I try to read really books of history, novels. I'd say this summer I read Tolstoy. I read Anna Karenina by Tolstoy.
Wow.
I always thought it's a long book, like almost 1,000 pages.
It is.
I always thought it was a book about a woman's experience. It is, but it's really a book about life in general, about everything in life, and not just her experience, but the experiences of many people and how to go about life and many different challenges in life. And I thought it was really inspiring.
Fabulous. A decision you made in your career that you're most proud of?
I have to say that joining this industry has been the best career decision I ever made. The only regret is I didn't do it sooner. I'm not a lifer in hospitality. I got here 11 years ago, but I wish I'd gotten here sooner.
And finally, one word to describe the hospitality opportunity in India.
I think you used the word earlier. It's game-changing.
Yeah.
It's game-changing.
Wonderful, Elie. It's been so engaging and so nice to be chatting with you once again. Thank you for doing this with me for the second time, but I'm working very closely with your team to ensure that you're there next year. at Hope 2027, and I do hope that you can make it. In the meanwhile, have a wonderful trip to India, and I hope we will stay connected. Thank you very
Mandeep.
much, Elie.
Look forward to seeing you at Hope. Thank you.